Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Jenny Collins, and I am the Program Director for the Youth Mental Health Project. I'm also a facilitator for the Parent Support Network. I am so happy to have Jessie Cody here with me tonight. I was tapped into doing this webinar. I will be full disclosure. This is my first webinar, but my team knows how much I love hiking, and they felt that I had a lot in common with Jessie. So that's why I'm here, and I'm very excited. I've met Jessie, and he has a lot to share with you tonight, so it's going to be a really good program. Before we get into our conversation, I wanted to give you a little information about the Youth Mental Health Project and who we are. Our mission is to educate, empower, and support families and communities to better understand and care for the mental health of our youth. There has never been a more important time than now to support our youth and their families. Just a couple statistics I'd like to share with you. 1 in 5 of our youth have a diagnosable mental health disorder. Half of all lifetime cases of mental health problems begin before the age of 14. We believe in early intervention, but we need to help parents as soon as they're concerned. There has been a 30% increase in ER visits from young people in mental health crisis during COVID. At our organization, we support parents who are concerned about their kids' mental health through the Parent Support Network, and we offer educational tools and workshops to help people learn and talk about youth mental health. I'm very excited to welcome our guest today, Jessie Cody of Hike the Good Hike. Jessie's about to embark on completing the Pacific Crest Trail, the PCT, in a hike we're calling Walking and Talking for Youth Mental Health. He is partnering with the Youth Mental Health Project to raise awareness in addition to fundraising along the way. Jessie heads out this Thursday, July 1st, and tonight we're going to learn about Jessie's journey, how he got into hiking, and found our YMHP organization. Before we talk to Jessie, I'd like to share a 60-second video that Jessie and his team put together highlighting his hike. So just bear with me. Here we go.
My name is Jessie Cody. 2017, I set off to through hike the Pacific Crest Trail. Got through all of California, but the fires were so bad in the Pacific Northwest, I made a decision to get off trail. So come July 1st, I'll be taking on the last 1,300 miles of the Pacific Crest Trail. I'll be fundraising as I hike these 1,300 miles and bringing attention and awareness to the Youth Mental Health Project. The Youth Mental Health Project is a nonprofit that focuses not just on the actual youth that are struggling with mental health illness, but they use a lot of their work to focus on helping the families that suffer from their children or their brothers or their sisters that are going through these issues. If you'd like to donate, we're going to have a lot of creative ways to do so. We're going to be doing percentage of merchandise sales. We're going to be doing giveaways, and we're going to do raffles. So follow along at Hike the Good Hike, and we'll keep you up to date as I'm hiking along the Pacific Crest Trail.
Thank you, and welcome, Jessie. I'm so excited to have you here tonight.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I've been looking forward to this, and certainly the amount of work that we've all put in together to get ready for this project has been incredible. Incredible experience, and here we are. So here we are.
Here we are. So, as we get started, not a lot of people may have seen information about you. So how did you get here? How did you get into hiking? And
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's been a long life journey, to say the least. Hiking is not something that's been in my life forever. I'm a city guy, true and true. I spent the majority of my life in Cambridge, Massachusetts, just across the river from Boston. I spent some time in New York City. So hiking has literally been for about 40 years something I knew very little about. I would say the true only experience I ever had with the wilderness came when I was younger. We have a family place in Maine, deep in the wilderness. And when I was a kid, spent a lot of time there. You know, I love to explore the woods. And now that I reflect back on my life and how I found such comfort in the wilderness now, I think Mother Nature kind of seeped into me back then and basically showed me such a beautiful place. And even though I may have forgot about it for so many years, in a way, I think Mother Nature and the universe were just kind of waiting for the exact moment when I needed it to come back into my life. So, you know, for me, this whole drive to get to hike the good hike comes from my own personal experience from battling, you know, mental health issues, darkness, voices, a lot of visions that I created in my head and mind that had me feeling very insecure about myself, lost, just the inability to truly try to take chances and take big steps in life to advance myself. This was years and years of building up. You know, I can remember stuff as a kid being very insecure, and just, you know, always shying away from things that felt like a challenge, or I felt like had me questioning, you know, if I was good enough at something. In a way, it's kind of strange too, because as a kid, as a child, I was successful. I acted a bunch when I was really young. And then as I got into high school, I started running, following the footsteps of my brother and other family members, my uncles and such. And as a runner, I was pretty successful in high school. I was a 7-time state champ. I was kind of used to the limelight. And you would think for somebody who was battling insecurities that this situation with running would be hard for me, but success was actually pretty good. But even looking back on those days when things were going so well and I was winning races and such, I can actually remember more so when I lost a race and how devastated I was and how I could literally feel like I let myself down. I let my family down. I let my teammates down. I let my coach down. These kind of things were definitely seeping into me at an early age. And so, you know, from high school on, you know, I was lucky enough to receive a full scholarship to Providence College for running. But once I kind of had some freedom and didn't have, you know, the people around me to keep an eye on me and kind of keep me in line with my focus, I kind of let loose. I started doing things, you know, like most college kids. You know, I started partying. I wanted to socialize. I wanted to do all that, but I didn't have an understanding of how to balance schoolwork, training, and the nightlife. You know, the nightlife seemed to become more important to me. And it was 6 months after I started at Providence that I had flunked out of college. And this really was kind of where things truly started to kind of spiral out of control for me. You know, this was, you know, I talked about feeling a little bit of letdown when I lost the race, but man, flunking out of school was a massive weight on my shoulders in the way I felt, like a letdown. And so this kind of started this phase for me where I didn't want to take any more chances. I didn't want to try to excel at things. I didn't want to, you know, I tried to go back to school, didn't do well with it. You know, I just continued down this path of being afraid to take chances and letting people down. I tried running again, same situation. So I started just trying to find the easiest path that I could find that would get me through life. You know, I bounced around from job to job at a young age, early teens into my mid 20s. And then it was a decision I made kind of in my late 20s, early to late 20s, that I figured, you know, partying was such a potent part of my life. Why didn't I try to find something that I could get paid to party? So I got into bartending management, something that I found could be pretty easy as long as I was responsible enough to just make sure the money got into the safe at the end of the night and the doors were locked. And that's something I started. And from there, you know, I mean, I can tell you now, it probably wasn't the best decision to take on that career. This is not for everybody. I can only speak for myself, but as restaurant manager, you know, the demons can get louder. You're allowed to develop bad habits. You're allowed to kind of feed off your insecurities. You're allowed to develop these bad habits into things that kind of, you know, you take on as a way to try to build a wall around your insecurities. So things started coming out of me in a way that, you know, I was a narcissist, you know, something that I truly struggled with. My insecurity was at a sky high. Each year I worked further along in the restaurant business. I let myself go, you know, physically, mentally. And these voices, this darkness truly started getting the best of me, you know, and I can go on and on, but we don't have all day. So, I kind of want to sum it up in a way that, as I was getting into my 30s, mid 30s, late 30s, as things were getting worse for me, I wasn't getting any help. I wasn't speaking out loud what was going on. I just wasn't finding the strength to talk to people that were close to me about trying to get help. And I started developing thoughts about just feeling like I'm not meant to be here. Like I'm not good enough for the world. I'm not good enough for a life. I'm making the worst of this opportunity I have to live on this planet. And as I kept thinking that, obviously, I started thinking about suicide, and that became pretty predominant early to mid 30s. Those thoughts would start popping in my head more and more. And as I mentioned, it was really hard for me to talk about this to anybody. So I was keeping it within myself, and I was trying to figure out maybe I could get better just by finding some strength within myself and being different. I was that person, almost like a New Year's resolution. Next time will be different. Next time I lash out at a girlfriend, it'll be different. Next time I have this thought, it will be different. But nothing was getting different. It was only piling on more and more. And my demons were winning. They were convincing me that they were right. And anything that I told myself to try to combat that, I was wrong. And so, there were these moments where suicide really was front and center. I could see things through. I could see how I would do it. I would think about how I could do it the most painless way, and how I could do it and have people in my life understand, which was all delusional in a sense, because no one could understand if I had taken these actions. And it was really at my worst moment, that things really, something changed. Something came into my life that made a change. And that was turning 40. It was my 40th birthday party. And I was fortunate enough to have my family, my friends, so many people put together a big event to celebrate this birthday of mine, to celebrate me. And, it was early on into this party where there were like 40, 50, 60 people that I just kind of stopped, and I looked around, and I thought to myself, how can somebody who has so much good, so much love, so many amazing people in their life want to be gone, want to take their own life? And it just like, it was with me for that party for a while. I just kept thinking about that as I looked around and people were hugging me and smiling. I mean, I even, talking about being a narcissist and treating women poorly in my life in the past. There were a couple ex-girlfriends at this party that were there to celebrate me, to still have enough love in them to celebrate my birthday. And it was just amazing to me. And I felt like there's something here that you need to think about. This is something here that you need to take a step further with it and evaluate. So I sat on that for a couple of days. I sat on this thought, and I came to this conclusion that I hadn't really given myself a chance. I hadn't seeked out help, or I haven't talked to anybody about what's going on. Like, I haven't given myself the best chance. I've just told myself that I can make the changes, that I can figure it out, which was wrong, which was, again, delusional. So I made this decision. I was like, I want to live, and I want to figure out a way to give myself a chance to live a life with purpose and with some happiness and with some love. And from there, it was like, what am I going to do? Like, what are these steps that I'm going to take to do this? I'm 40 years old. How do you restart life at 40? And so for the next couple of months, I was really doing a lot of research and trying to think this all through, think about going back to school. All these different things were popping up. I was scared, just in the same sense, like, how do I restart? I knew that I had to kind of have some conversations as well to explain to people, once I did make this decision to make changes in my life, that these are the reasonings why. And so as I was doing this research, this crazy thing happened. Robert Redford came into my life. and how he came into my life is I came across an article that he was making the book by Bill Bryson, A Walk in the Woods, into a movie. Now, Bill Bryson's book is about hiking the Appalachian Trail. And fortunate enough for me, in my early 20s, my good friend Jonah, who, crazy enough, I'm at his house right now. He's the man taking me to trail. My good friend in my early 20s, he gave me the book and said, I think you'd like it. It's about adventure. It's a great story about self-reflection. And so I saw that and I said, you know what? I remember reading that book. I think I'm going to go pick it up and give it a reread. Not thinking to myself, and hike the Appalachian Trail. That wasn't planted in the head yet. But as soon as I got the book and as soon as I started reading, it was a chapter in or so that hiking planted a seed into my head. Because the book's not just about the Appalachian Trail, but it's about someone, Bill Bryson, who writes about, even though he had so much success in life and things were really good for him, he still felt like something was missing, and he felt like he still needed to figure out some important parts of his life. And one day he was looking out his back window. He lives up in New Hampshire, and he saw some hikers in the woods, and he walked out into his backyard and he walked through the trees and the bushes, and there was a trail, and there was a sign that said, Georgia that way, Maine that way, the Appalachian Trail. And so Bill Bryson made a decision that he wanted to give this an attempt. Maybe this was something that could fill in the blanks that he still felt in life. And so when I read this, I said, well, if that guy has some blanks, and I'm a clean slate, or I want to be a clean slate, and I think I need a long walk. So, here I am making this decision to not just go out for a day hike, but to possibly attempt a 2,200-mile hike from Georgia to Maine. And then I knew that I had to explain this to people while I was doing research and getting to understand the Appalachian Trail. And I still wasn't really ready to say that I was suicidal, but I was ready to tell people close to me, specifically my family, that I just didn't feel right. I felt lost and I felt sad, and this was too often, and this is not who I want to be in life. And that was enough. That was great. It was enough for my family to hear, even though this is a crazy journey that you're thinking about taking on, it sounds like it's something you need. And, then you explain to your friends and they all think you're really crazy because they've known me as my whole life is, life of the party, the guy that runs the bars, go to Jesse's place and watch sports and drink beers. And now I'm like, I'm giving that all up to go hike 2,200 miles. And I always like to say that, when people think I was crazy, I was crazy, right? Like they didn't really know my head wasn't right. And so this was something that I felt that I needed to do that was drastic, that could make a change in my life. And, 3 months after I made this decision and had a true understanding of this trail and read so many other stories about people that were battling and found their way to the AT, I knew it was for me. And so I was ready, and I put my life in a backpack. I jumped on a train, an Amtrak train down to Georgia. I remember having my head kind of pressed against the window, looking out, watching all this landscape in a blur flying by to me, and thinking to myself, the next time you see all this, you're going to be walking in. It won't be so blurry. And hopefully your life's not so blurry either. Hopefully your mind is a clearer picture for yourself. And wasn't too long after that I was in Georgia, and I was up on Springer Mountain, and I started my first few steps towards Maine. And just thought to myself, you're going to walk 2,200 miles now. You're going to change your life. And I believed it. I believed it every second of the way, those first few steps, because I knew this is what I needed. I knew, in a sense, the universe and Mother Nature knew at that time that this was what I was supposed to be in life, and this is where I was supposed to walk. And if I gave it all I got, then they would show me that this is where I belong. So that's basically the beginning of this this Hike the Good Hike story. But certainly I can let you ask some more questions to fill in those gaps.
Well, I know you finished the AT. How long did it take you?
So it was a 6-month walk to the day. I started March 15th of 2015, and I summited Katahdin on September 15th of 2015. And it was, the walk that saved my life. And it was the best 6 months of my life. And I think the important part to tell you about that is, I think when most people finish the Appalachian Trail, their first thing that they think is, holy bleep, I just walked 2,200 miles. I mean, it's natural, right? But for me, I actually felt like my first thought process was, I'm alive. I'm here, man. Like I did this, like I'm alive. And I knew after that, like, no matter what happens, no matter where you go from here, no matter how difficult it is, at least you have the ability to live, and you have the want to live, and you're just going to put it all together as you keep moving forward.
That's great. I mean, you must have felt better, right? By the end of the 2,200, I mean, it must have been, if you felt that you were glad to be alive, it really must have made a difference.
I was a different person, I mean, there's no other way to put it. I was a different human being. I think a lot of people in my life can tell you, when they saw me after this, that I was completely different. It wasn't, before it, my best times, my happiest times, my joyous times, a lot of them, I wouldn't say were an act. I certainly felt these things, but there was always this dark cloud looming over me, right? And so I think people could truly recognize and still recognize that when my joy and happiness comes out, there's no cloud, it's dispersed. It's not there. I fought through it. And so even though people could say, well, I remember this happy Jesse before hiking, I think the people closest to me and know me can say, but this is a true, authentic, happy Jesse. And so, yeah, I was a completely different person. And again, like I mentioned, I was a person who knew that life was still going to be hard and things were still going to occur and thoughts may still even leak in, but instead of letting them get the best of me, I was just going to say, good luck, because you're not going to get the best of me anymore. I just hiked 2,200 miles. I dare you.
Well, how is 2015, that hike on the AT different than 2021? I mean, what's the difference between the 6 years that you've been hiking? A lot more than the AT, which people
Yeah.
don't know either, but many, many miles, many miles.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hiking it's different for me now. I wouldn't say I got everything I needed out of hiking. Hiking is my chapel. It's my church. It's where I go when I need a break or I need to think some things out. But the thing is now with hiking, with Hike the Good Hike, I'm doing it for a bigger purpose. There's more to it. This is more than just my story now. It started as my journey. It started as me, peeling layers back and talking about it. The funny thing is this is 2015 when I hiked the Appalachian Trail. I didn't say out loud that I was suicidal until 2017. Even coming off that hike, I was still at a place where I was figuring things out and finding bravery and finding courage to really talk about what led me to the trail. Certainly my friends and family, close ones, knew that things weren't great, but I still hadn't even told them, the extent of it. And so I started realizing that in order for me to grow as a human and to grow what I want to do with Hike the Good Hike and to try to build this life around this crazy journey of mine and these leaps of faith, that I needed to start telling the story out loud. I needed to talk about what this is all about, because I want people engaged, right? This became important. It was small, short little messages that I got from people when I was on the AT, just saying, man, this is an inspiration. This is really cool what you're doing. We're following along. You can do it, Jesse. I thrived off of that. That was like gasoline for me to keep walking. I never felt like I wanted to quit, but certainly if I did, I feel like those type of messages weren't going to let me. And it's one of the main things that stuck with me off the trail, off the AT, was you can do a lot with this. And the first thing that I thought was, look what this did for you. And I knew that there were so many people that stood in my shoes or stand in my shoes that I said, this is not for you. This is too good to keep to yourself. This is something you got to share with the world. So my hiking now is about sharing with the world, but I don't want it to be just me. I have big dreams for Hike the Good Hike. I want so many people to use wilderness exploration, whether they've ever tried it or they're into it and it saved their life already, to tell their story, to use Hike the Good Hike as a platform to raise money for programs such, like yours, to do things that we can do to bring awareness. So now my hiking is, I know I'm still going to get everything that I absolutely love out of it, but it's not about me anymore. It's about building that message, building that mantra, spreading it as far as I can. It's about the work that you have to put in before the hike, the work that you have to put in during the hike, and know that when the hike is over, that's still so much work to be done. So I think the hiking for me, man, we've been joking a bunch behind the scenes. I'm been working so hard on this. I'm like, I can't wait to finally get out and average 19 miles an hour and take it easy climbing mountains.
Yeah. That'll be easy compared to the lead up.
Yeah, this stuff.
And before I ask my next question, which I just want to tell our viewers that if you want to ask Jesse a question, you can put it in the chat, or if you want to give him some well wishes and cheerleading, you can put it in the chat. We see that, and I forgot to mention that earlier, so I just want to make sure people know to use the chat to communicate with Jesse or myself. And we touched upon this, but How did you find the Youth Mental Health Project, and why us? What?
Well, this is this is a little bit of a difficult story, and this is kind of a extension of what you asked about what's the difference now with my hiking. I was home recently for a few months back in Cambridge, there to support my brother while he was going through cancer treatment, which was hard enough, but luckily my man beat it. And so I was there for a few months, just trying to lend support, be there, family, obviously home to see family. I'm out in the Southwest now. And while I was home, a good friend of ours, the family, my brother, my mom, my dad, everybody, someone that's been in our life for a long time, um, Francisco, he and his wife lost one of their sons to suicide. And this happened when I was back in Boston. And certainly, for all the things that I've been through and what I'm trying to do, this hit home like nothing else I'd ever experienced. This was practically family, and this was a beautiful boy that, this wasn't a surprise. I mean, he had been battling for a while and he had been trying really hard. He'd been in a program, he'd been doing everything he possibly can, had so much love and support. But you guys know as well as I do, sometimes those demons, man, they're just stronger than anything you can provide. And so, it got the best of him. And unfortunately, he took his life. And, when that happened and trying to be supportive for my friends as well, my family, and spending time with them, it struck me, and it said, it's time to stop talking about it or dreaming about what you want to do with Hike the Good Hike. And it's time to do it. It's time to make a difference. It's time to just grind away and make this place you call Hike the Good Hike something that can really, really, truly help in this world. And that's when I decided, I want to be an advocate. I want to help. I want to use my legs, as long as they're going to take me, as far as they're going to take me, to see if I can do things that will help programs that support youth, that support family, and support people in general that are just struggling with mental health. It was just a striking point, and I knew it was what I needed to do. And so, from being in Boston on, that was my everyday drive. It was to say, let's start researching, let's start looking at programs, let's start finding these nonprofits that certainly could use some help, because we all know help is needed when it comes to mental health in our country. We're all trying to get it to a place where it's on the same level as physical health, and we're paying that attention. And so I got on the Google, and I just started the first thing I put in was mental health programs for youth. And you guys were the first ones to pop up. And so I emailed Randy, your founder, right away. And she was back to me, I think the same day, and said, let's talk. And, and I just said, here's something crazy that I'm going to do, but I'm just going to give you myself, and I'm going to hike 1,300 miles. And I'm going to use this hike to bring awareness to you guys and to try to bring some funding to you guys. And together, we can build something. And it's coming from wanting to be a bigger advocate. It's coming from wanting to continue to push and put the work into get Hike the Good Hike to a place where I'm a charitable organization. And so it was, I'm such a firm believer in the universe now. So many things happen, especially over the last few years, that I am like, things happen for a reason. The universe is always looking out, and so I think you guys came into my life because the universe was like, here's somebody who's ready to support you, ready to get behind you, ready to put the work in with you. And together, I truly think we can have an incredible summer that makes a difference.
And how do you think, you could use this hike to get the most exposure for the Youth Mental Health Project? What are your objectives in that for the PCT?
Well, I mean, we calling it walking and talking for youth mental health, right? I like to take some credit for the first half of that, at least, because when people ask me what's my expertise when it comes to all this stuff, I said, I'm just good at walking and talking. The ins and outs I need help with, but I can promise you one thing: I'll walk as far as I can, and I'll do a lot of talking while I do it. And by talking, I mean writing, using my social media platforms that have gotten to a pretty good place for a middle-aged guy. I'm not a young influencer out there taking pictures on the beach. I'm just trying to show my journey. And so I think with my platform and the way that I've built things and the way that I continue to build things and the effort that I put into it, I just think throughout this 2-month journey that we're going to see some things that are just going to be incredible. I think more people are going to get behind us as we do it. I mean, I just recently, I sent this to Barbara, one of our team over here at Youth Mental Health Project. There's a woman in Colorado that reached out who runs a single mother hiking group, and they want to dedicate the month of July to this project and raise money for this project. And it's like, man, I haven't even started hiking yet, and these things are already starting to happen. So, I said this, I said, I think we're going to be really surprised by the amount of different things that come out of this and the amount of support that we gain and the creativity that people come up with. And just that, just to have some separate group who's like, hey, we want to do a month where we can raise some money for this project. So, I mean, sky is the limit, right? Sky is the limit. And I'm hiking 1,300 miles, and you're gonna see my face all the times. And
Yeah.
so, I like the fact that we have a couple months to do this, to really truly do what we need to do.
And we'll be following you on Instagram and Facebook, Hike the Good Hike, Youth Mental Health Projects pages. We will be following this journey. I'll talk more about that a little bit later, but I just want people to know that we will be following you and getting updates along the way. What do you think the hardest thing is about being a family member of a child or a young adult who struggles with mental health? What's your opinion?
Ooh, I mean, I would think that almost feeling helpless, right? I mean, I can't speak as a parent. I mean, I certainly can speak as a brother, but I think in so many circumstances, when it comes to like these struggles, I would think as a parent and I would think as a sibling, you'd want to do everything in your power to try to help, right? And sometimes we don't have the tools, or we're not enough. And I would absolutely think as a mother or a father that, when you see a son or a daughter struggling with this, that you just want to make it stop. You want to help them. You want to just wrap your arms around them. And that's just not the case. I can't, sometimes it's just this overwhelming feeling of feeling helpless when all you want to do is just try to do everything in your power to save or to stop the hurt, to stop the pain, to stop the voices. So I would think that would be, up there for sure, is just, not sure how to proceed and to overturn what's going on. So yeah, that's what I would see being the
I'm
hardest.
right there with you. I'm a parent who's had children who struggle with their mental health, and it is a feeling of helplessness. I totally agree with you. And I'm excited for this hike to bring awareness about that,
Mhm.
about awareness for families and have kids who are struggling, to help them, to reach them, at the earliest stages, help parents, if they're concerned, to reach out to us,
Mhm.
to follow along with you, to learn about how to help their kid. We have resources. We don't have all the answers, but we have a lot of support. We want parents to feel they're not alone. They are
Right.
so not alone in this. There are so many kids struggling out there, and parents don't know where to turn, and they feel alone. So we want to make sure that they don't feel alone in their journey, and get them the support that they need.
Mhm.
You were talking about this one organization that reached out to you. You have some sponsors for this. In addition to partnering with us, you
Yeah.
have some sponsors that are helping along the way. Who are some of those sponsors?
Well, I have to start with Hiker Unger Outfitters. My really good friends over there, Emily. She's been just simply amazing, and her husband Rory. They came on board in 2017 by chance. We bumped into each other on the first half of the Pacific Crest Trail. I was hiking with their hiking poles, and they came over and asked me like, "Hey, what do you think of those poles?" And I was like, "I love them." They were like, "Great, we own the company." And I said, "Oh, that's amazing." I said, "I'm actually from Cambridge, Mass, and I support you guys because it's a Boston local company." And so from there, we developed a friendship. And so when we started talking about this initially, Emily right away was like, "We want to be involved. We want to do everything in our power to help with this. We want to dedicate a page on our website. We want to give percentages. We want to it's just been incredible, the assistance that they've shared with us to help this grow. I mean, I owe them a lot. And then beyond that, even though this is not a sponsorship, my good friend Missy over at Simply Grateful, she has a company out of LA that she uses recycled wood to make postcards and coasters and puzzles. And she's doing the same thing. She's dedicating 20% of sales from my collection, these postcards and such. She's using my photographs. And so she's given 20% back from anybody who buys from the collection back to the fundraiser. She's dedicated a page on her website. And then I'm just going on with more sponsors who are getting involved as we go. New Balance has been a big one in my life. And now I'm working with Z Packs, which is a great backpack and beyond company. Mold, who's helping me with water filtration system. Outdoor, I go on outdoor research.
Awesome.
Jetfoil. I'm pretty lucky.
You're really lucky, and it's just such great news that people are on board and they're following you, and it's good for both of us, you and for us. So
I think it's hard. I think it's hard to say. I think it's hard to say when you pitch. Listen, I'm going out to hike 1,300 miles, but I'm doing it for mental health awareness. I think it's hard to say no, because I mean, why wouldn't you get behind
we
that?
would hope so, right? We would.
Yeah,
hope so.
yeah, and
It
so
would be hard to say no.
right, and I'm fortunate enough that there have been no no's. Everybody's supporting me, and this has been an incredible experience, man. I mean, I was a dreamer about a year and a half ago, and this is such a reality now. It's like, I used to try to do a lot of things on my own, and now I can say I have a team of just amazing people that are here for me, that are saying, we're going to get you to that next level. And when you get to that level, we're going to get you to the next one after that. And it's just like, it's been a grind, man. I mean, especially if I think about 6 years ago when, I was a lost soul, and now here's Hike the Good Hike, and it's the doors open, and I'm going to continue to push through it and grow this thing as far as I possibly can.
Well, you've got a lot of teams behind you, and the Youth Mental Health Project is there for you at any time. This hike, beyond, whatever, we are always there to partner with you, because we think what you're doing is really phenomenal. And I wanted to let people in the chat know that Lisa, our producer behind the scenes, has put a couple things in the chat that you might, some links. One is to Jesse's website and his Facebook, Instagram links. She's also put Hiker Hunger, Z Packs. She's got a lot of the sponsors that Jesse just mentioned, and some information on the Youth Mental Health Project, our website, where you can download free materials. So just check out the chat, because there's a lot of stuff that Lisa's putting in there, and I just want to make sure people knew about that. Jesse, you talked about being in Santa Fe now a little bit earlier. You're from Cambridge, outside of Boston, but how did you end up in New Mexico? Where is that? How'd you end up there from Boston?
I think in the same sense, we can probably relate it to hiking the Appalachian Trail. I was really stuck with Hike the Good Hike, and I knew that being in a city just wasn't going to cut it for me. I wasn't going to find the motivation, the energy, and everything that I needed to have to build this, and said, you got to put something, you got to make your surroundings very different than they are now. Buildings and loud and traffic and loud noises and such just weren't helping, it's kind of a no-brainer there. And so I started the same way. I was like, I feel like I just need to get somewhere different. I think I need to ground myself somewhere different for a while and see if that may help. I had never been to New Mexico. I had never been to Santa Fe. I knew nothing about it, but something from above told me, I think it'd be pretty cool for you to go check this place out. I had a couple different places that I wanted to check out, and Santa Fe was the first one. As I ventured out in my big old 93 camper van. I had this big van that had a bed and a sink and all the stuff in it. And I said, well, I basically got a studio on wheels. I might as well roll out of here and just take some chances. And so I got to Santa Fe. And when I got there, it was kind of a rough 24 hours. I planned on living in an RV park. But when I got to the RV park, they failed to tell me that they wouldn't have running water until April. And this was January, so there were no bathrooms or showers. So I was like, well, that's not going to be very helpful. Unfortunately, I didn't have a shower in my van. And so the next day I was like, well, you're going to have to figure something out. And I took it as a sign originally. I thought, well, maybe this is Santa Fe telling you this isn't the place for you. But I wanted to take a shower. I was at a coffee shop and I was like, I want to take a shower. And so I saw that there was a hostel in town. And I have a lot of experience from hostels throughout my hiking. So I know that usually hostels will let you come in for a couple bucks and take a shower. So I went to the hostel, and the manager was working the desk, and I I said, hey, I'm rolling through town. I'm trying to figure some things out, but I just want to get cleaned up. And Jenny, who was the manager, said, well, what are your plans? And I was like, I'm learning on the fly. I'm figuring it out. I'm coming out here and I don't know what the future holds, but I'll figure that out. And so Jenny said, well, we're actually looking for someone to do work for stay here. Are you interested? And I said, sign me up. I go, what do you mean? She's like, yeah, you can live here and Whole Foods donates 4 days a week. So you get to eat for free and you just got to work a few desk shifts. And so bang, I mean, there was Santa Fe turning right around being like, no, you're meant to be here. And so, this happened too, like a couple months before COVID. So here I am and I'm loving the place and the energy's great. And I'm actually off to a good start and like getting back into my writing, which I kind of stalled out on me and stuff. And then COVID struck and this odd thing happened. I found more energy through it. I found more drive and more guidance. I think it's the fact that we truly started seeing like, with COVID, like how bad mental health is in our country. I mean, it really started exposing itself. And so again, in the same sense, like looking for these little flames, there was something in that just fed me. And in the energy of that state and the people that I was around that motivated me, it just lit a fire under me that I had never felt. I owe so much to Santa Fe, to the hostel, to New Mexico, because it was just a perfect partnership. It just gave me this ability to believe in this and almost in the same way back in the days, not be scared to take these crazy chances, to like believe in myself, believe in my message and let it evolve instead of trying to force things. I'm like, just let this play out. It's gonna show itself to you what it's supposed to be. And I started doing that. And as soon as I made those decisions, here we are.
That's great. I love Santa Fe. Another thing we have in common. Pretty magical, but I haven't spent as much time there as you have. But maybe that will change in my future. You never know. You never know. You never know. I'm just checking some questions. We do have some well wishes. If you want to check the chat, Jesse, later. Before I'll give some people at the end of our time. Make sure I answer questions that might pop up there if we don't get to them now. But I see a lot of well wishes, which is really awesome.
That's always good.
And what we talked a little bit about this before, but what's your goal in 5 or 10 years? 5 years, 10 years? What do you have some? I know you have some goals, so I want to talk about those.
Yeah, I've also learned not to get too ahead of myself. But I think this shot of confidence and now seeing some potential here with Hike the Good Hike, I can actually formulate these goals of mine and believe that I have the ability, and my people that are working with me with Hike the Good Hike, we have the ability to do some things. For me, it's, we've talked about it. It's building it into something that I can generate, a lot of fundraising, a lot of funding that I can give back out to the world, to these programs. If I'm in 10 years, I kick back and I can look at Hike the Good Hike and say that we got hundreds, maybe thousands of people to use wilderness exploration and use our nonprofit organization to raise money, then I've accomplished exactly what I want to accomplish. This has become all about giving back. I believe in Mother Nature. I believe in the universe. They guide me, and they've told me from day one, we're going to take you by the hand. We're going to show you the direction. We're going to make you work for it. But you're going to start truly understanding why you're supposed to be here, what your purpose is. And if you ever seem to get off track, we'll get you back on, but you're going to keep working towards what you want to work on. And so, I mean, it's just making a difference. It's inspiring. It's getting people to say, I've been there and or I am there, and coming across Hike the Good Hike is, kind of made me rethink things and want to give myself a better chance. And maybe it's through hiking, maybe it's through swimming, maybe it's through biking across, it doesn't have to be these crazy, like I did something ridiculously big. I have to make a point to everybody that you don't have to hike 2,200 miles. It's just finding these moments where you can get outside and quiet the chaos. The other thing about Santa Fe is when I said getting away from buildings, it became very evident to me that changing my surroundings changed chaos in my life. one of the things when things were at their worst with me and the voices were so loud, I was surrounded by chaos. I was a city person. It was loud, it was rushed, it was aggression, it was all these things that fed in to what was going on with me. And so finding a place where it's quiet, whether I live there or, when I was back in Boston, I was going out to Walden Pond every morning for a little trail run because it's quiet. It's where Thoreau lived.
Mhm.
He said, get on out. All I needed was an hour or two of quiet time to just kind of get through the day and filter through some things and just feel all right. It's all we need is just to get out and change our surroundings, make them a little more quiet. Listen to the trees, listen to your feet walking or running on the trail, or your bike, mountain biking, whatever it is. Listen to the things around you that are peaceful. Let the voices hear them because it's going to quiet the voices down too. Nothing can get mad in the wilderness unless you trip and fall. I mean, that's never fun, but um I just think that it's so important to realize that you got to at some point tell yourself, I need a little more of the wilderness, or I need a little more peace in my life. And you have to do it. You have to take time for yourself, no matter how much is going on in your life. It's so vital for yourself, physically, mentally, to take some time and find a place where you can filter through the thoughts and maybe come to a conclusion or come to an understanding myself. This is important. I'm not cured, right? Like the voices in the darkness, I didn't get rid of it. I didn't step off a katana and be like, bye-bye, it's all gone now. They'll always be part of my life. They're who I am. They're there. I just know how to negotiate with them better. I know where to bring them when things get a little too, close to the edge. And so it's like, I know where I need to be. We need to know, or we need to take the chance to find where we need to be to quiet the voices. I'm an advocate of everything, but certainly for me, it's, maybe if you have other things going on that are helping, but you need a little more, find your
Mhm.
way to the woods, find your way to the woods.
Well, one of the questions that had come up is, how does hiking increase your feeling of happiness and contentment? Like, how does it, like, do you have a physiology about it, or what? How does it increase your?
Wouldn't say a physiology, but I mean, you can never get sick of too much amazing, beautiful views. I mean, I know that's funny to hear, but like, there's never a moment where I peak a mountaintop, and Lisa knows that, even though we can't see it, that it's ever gonna get old.
Right.
You're never gonna sit on the bank of a beautiful river or a beautiful pond or lake with mountains in the background and think to yourself, eh, this there's nothing great about this. This stuff feeds into you. You know what I mean? The nature breathes into you, and it doesn't breathe negativity. Even when it rains and it pours and all these things, there's things to take out of that. For me, it's, why does it make me so happy? It challenges me, it makes me earn things, but it shows me the beauty of life. It shows me the beauty of our planet. It shows me that we all have the ability to take these chances or make adjustments to our life for the better. And they're not difficult, right? They're not difficult. When I was in Boston, Walden Pond was a 20-minute drive from home. I just get out there and, whether it's the afternoon or the morning, and there I am. I'm in a place that just
Yeah.
is like a complete exhale mentally and physically. And it's like, I spend an hour, I spend 2 hours. Like this, I say this all the time. There was one particular day I was there. I was out for a trail run. I saw a couple people hiking. I saw a woman horseback riding on the trails. I saw an old couple sitting at the bank of Walden Pond in their chairs, just looking out and enjoying the day together. I saw bird watchers, and I saw someone with a small little canvas painting nature. And I thought to myself, we're all hiking the good hike. We're all getting what we need out of this. This is their hike. That's what they need to do. That's their peaceful time. That's filtering through.
Well, we only have about 10 minutes left, and it's like unbelievable. I can't believe how fast this time is going. But we do have a couple questions from
Mhm.
some of our viewers, and one is from Debbie, who says she would like to know more about the PCT and what you expect from it.
Sure. So I'm taking on the last 1,300 miles, which is like the last 250 of California, all of Oregon, and all of Washington to the Canadian border. It's a challenge. These major hikes in our country, whether it's the Appalachian Trail, the Pacific Crest, the Continental Divide, and beyond, they don't put them in places that are flat and easy. They're going to make you go through the toughest mountain ranges. They're going to take you far away from civilization. They're going to challenge you. For me, it's what I love. I mean, even after the AT, when I took on the Colorado Trail, I really learned that solitude was something that I craved, that I truly got my best out of. Like, my mind really started working when I found time to spend just by myself, no other hikers and beyond. So it's something I like. It's not for everybody, obviously, but for me, it's like these moments of being able to, again, to tackle these challenges and to, you have all day, there's nothing to do. You got to hike. What could be boring if you just sit in the woods all day, like you can only look at the same tree as long as possible before you need to move on. So for me, it's just, I'm getting the best out of myself, like I find that the things that I want to write about are the things that I want to talk about, or most importantly, there's still layers. The next layer that I want to peel back, and start working on within myself comes on a trail like the PCT. It gives me this place that I'm getting the challenge, but I'm getting like the work that I'm putting in. You see how beneficial it is. It's going to be a challenging hike for sure. I mean, it's the Pacific Northwest, the majority of it. We're looking at a dry year. There are going to be things out there that I'm sure I'm going to have to get creative and, whether they're fires, heat, drought. You go in understanding that nothing's going to be easy about it. If you go in thinking at all that this isn't going to be that hard, Mother Nature will hear you, and she'll make sure to make day one the hardest day possible on trail, because that's just how she is. So you have to go in understanding that here we go, like for the next 2 months, I'm going to be grinding at something that I know is going to be extremely difficult. But you have to be able to then peel that back and say, but think about how rewarding this is going to be. And again, go back, not just for me anymore, but I think it's going to be so rewarding for so many others, people that are taking part in this journey with me, people that are helping me, supporting me, and of course, the people that are supporting this project.
Yeah, great. We're getting more questions, which is really great.
Nice.
I'm just debating which one to answer first. So I'm going to do Stephanie's first, and then we'll go back. How do you take on days when you're in pain and not motivated? Are there breaks?
Yeah, there are breaks for sure. I mean, you can only go as far as your body will let you. You have to listen to it. That's the biggest thing. That's the most important thing out there is if something doesn't feel right or you're just lacking energy, you have to listen to yourself. I tend to just kind of like, I can think back specifically to one day on the Colorado Trail when I was hiking, that I was just gassed. I had nothing. And then finally at some point, about 10 miles in, when I was trying to do a 24 to 25 mile day, I told myself, that's it. Like find some shade, eat some food, lie down, and start again tomorrow. It's important not to get in too deep into your mind about like deadlines and wanting to be at a certain place by a certain time. Like I try to take it day by day. I have an understanding of what I want to do and how I want to move on. But, to that question, you got to really, truly just listen to yourself day by day and see how you feel. And the days you feel awesome, you do more than what you think. And the days you feel crappy, you listen to your body and you take some time. You get into town if you have an injury and you rest a little bit. I mean, it's like any other, athlete who has to, realize when they can't push themselves any further. A lot of people do. I try not to make that mistake because out there, it can cost you. It could cost you in a big way. So.
Good. So, well, this leads me, we only have like 7 minutes left, but one question is, what's the best way to donate and the best way to follow you on the PCT? So I can answer part of this, Jesse, but listen to what see if you can chime in. Yep. So one of the ways you can donate is you can text, and Lisa's going to put it in the chat, text to donate, and you write the word give or donate in that text. She's going to provide the phone number in the chat. And I was testing this out the other day, so I kind of know how it works. If you just type the word give or donate, that doesn't donate money. You have to click on the link that will pop up in that text, and that will take you to where you can donate. Also, you can follow Jesse on Instagram and on Facebook, both on his platform, Hike the Good Hike, and the Youth Mental Health Projects. We're both of us are on Facebook and Instagram, and actually there are links there to donate as well. If you don't want to do the text to donate, you can do it that way. we from the Youth Mental Health Project, we plan to follow Jesse through all of this, and post updates. And, as Jesse just said, he may not know when he's going to need a break. So we don't have specific dates out there with, when we're going to touch base with him. And I've already told him that he can tell us within a few hours, and we can manage to figure out a way to meet up with him, or he could just send us a video that he's recorded and we can then post it later. We are going to be posting things. We're going to have a mental health theme each week that we're going to be covering with Jesse. So we'll shoot him that theme and get his thoughts and ideas about that, and then share it on Instagram and Facebook. Can you think of something I forgot, Jesse?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's great. I think with my Instagram too, I'm sure everybody that knows me, who's watching, knows that I post regularly and I ask regularly. So, and I have the ability to do some great things with my Instagram as far as scrolling up. I try to make it as easy as possible if people want to donate. And the beautiful thing is we're doing this for a couple months. You know what I mean? If you can't do it now, you can do it later. We're going to be offering percentages off of my merchandise as we're relaunching my shop. It's kind of in flux right now because we're making sure we have enough hats in stock to sell, but we're going to be giving percentages back. So it's, we're trying to be as creative as possible. We're trying to give people as many different opportunities to do things to get money to this project. Because again, it's all about giving back. So, you can count on me as well as getting things up as much as possible on not just my social media, but hikethegoodhike.com, and giving you guys chances to do some fun ways to lend your support. So
that's great. That's great. It's very exciting. I am, you mentioned it before, but everyone should really know the Pacific Crest Trail is no joke. It's a really hard trail. This is a big deal that you're taking on. Not everyone can do it. I know you can, but I have no doubt about that. And I just want to, give you a lot of cheerleading because I am very excited for this. And I've just met you a couple times and I am so inspired by your story and your journey. And I've learned so much from you already. And I'm really excited to learn more over these next 70 days or 73 days or 60, whatever it's going to be, right?
Whatever.
It doesn't matter, because I know I'm going to be following your journey after this hike. That's my plan, and my goal is that I'm going to be following you for a long time and learning what you're doing. And as I said, the Youth Mental Health Project is always here for you. We're very excited to get behind this, and we're excited for you. And do you have? We only have like a couple minutes, but is there something that I missed that you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, I'll just say that, obviously I can't express enough how much I appreciate this partnership with you guys and the support you've lent. I have to say that to everybody that's listening. I can see things popping up from my friends, my family. They've been so supportive of my journey, so this is not just for me, and this is for so many others, but this is for them believing in me. So, when you have that love and support behind you, and that love and support continues to grow from so many others, why would you ever stop walking? And that's all I really care about, is that we have the ability and the chance to make a difference. And, I say this very often, even though I've made some strides. I'm just getting started. We're just getting started. And I'm not going to stop walking until I can finally kick back in my rocking chair when I'm 115 years old and say, we did it. We made a difference. We saved some lives. We stopped some people from making some decisions that, it would be hard for others. And, I'm pretty damn proud of all this.
I'm proud of you. And I'm like, it really, it's really impacted me, your story. It's just really, and I know I'm just one person, but there are a lot of listeners out there and a lot of people who are going to watch this after the fact. And you are just, it's an amazing thing you're doing.
Thank you.
Really
Thank
amazing.
you. Hike the good hike.
Hike the good hike. I can't wait to do some more hiking. I hike the good hike. And you are getting a lot of love, and I'm really, it's heartwarming to see. So
thank you.
it's just,
I promised myself I wouldn't cry.
No, you didn't promise me that on Saturday. You told me you might, and I told you I might. So it's okay. It's okay.
It's okay. Okay, good
It's
tears.
all good. It's all
Yep.
good. And when people are passionate about something, it can bring them to tears for lots of good reasons. So
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for
shows
sure.
your passion, and I'm really excited for this journey.
Thank you.
Really excited. Thank you so much, Jesse. The Youth Mental Health Project thanks you. We are so excited for this partnership. I mean, it's really awesome. And we'll be cheering you on. And
All right. Well,
every day we'll be checking in every week, whatever you can give us. And oh, Jesse's a phenomenal photographer, so check out the photos he'll be taking on his Instagram.
amateur
Yeah.
photographer.
Well, I didn't say the one word. He's a great photographer.
Thank you.
So
Well,
check-
I'll see everybody up trail. I promise you that.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jesse.
All right. Thank
right.
you.
Good
Okay.
night. Thank
Good
you.
night. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.